Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. This is a voice of a watchman on a nice, beautiful Sunday evening here in Jacksonville, Florida.
Shalom. All praises to the Most High.
All praises go to the Most High. Ahayah. Barak, bahashem Yashayah. We're gonna bring a very specific lesson tonight. We're gonna try to move through the information. We're gonna bring some precepts as well
About this devil holiday tomorrow that millions are celebrating.
Columbus Day. So we're gonna talk about Columbus Day. We're gonna go into, hold up.
Let me say something to Josh. Every American holiday has something to do with death. Every American holiday.
We're going to go into the article, The Truth About Columbus Day. Why are we celebrating? You can find this online. And we're also going to go into the book, Christopher Columbus, African Holocaust and the Beginning of European Capitalism.
So there's your Christopher Columbus. Millions in America are unaware about him, who he really is, and the facade that he hides behind in their history.
So, while researching and understanding the nature and the origin of these holidays that we've been taught through tradition and
Lion tradition,
and philosophy in America to revere.
Mm-hmm.
The truth is coming out about these holidays.
Come on. We thank the Most High that millions and millions are not celebrating anymore, and that's awesome. That's awesome.
When the Bible gives us holy days to follow.
Holy days.
I wonder
how the Christian church is going to think that they're going to get away from judgment, not keeping the Sabbath and the holy days.
Let's start with Isaiah 14:9.
Okay, Isaiah 14:9, guys. Nine, Josh. Okay.
9.
All right. Okay.
Isaiah 14 and verse 9.
Okay, Isaiah 14, verse 9. Hell from beneath is moved for thee, to meet thee at thy coming.
Mm-hmm.
It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. All they that speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we?
So Satan is going to be defeated one day, and all the people that he's defeated, that he's caused trouble, are going to look narrowly upon him, and they're going to say, "Is this the one that weakened the nations?" Read.
Art thou become like unto us?
Because that day, people are going to see how weak he really is.
Come on.
Thy pomp is brought down to the grave.
Thy pomp is brought down to the grave.
And the noise of thy bowels.
So that's talking about music.
He was the angel
so
of music.
worldly music is demonic because Satan became the angel of worldly music when he fell.
That's right.
The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee.
Wow.
Read.
How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer,
Mhm.
son of the morning?
Son of the morning.
How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?
Which did weaken the nations.
Wow, with all lying doctrines in the world.
Read.
For thou hast said in thine heart,
Mm.
again, Mary,
I
for
will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High.
that's right.
Right.
I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation
Wow.
to the side of the north.
So Lucifer was
Arrogant.
trying to sit on Mount Hermon. That's why when you see Paramount, they show you Mount Hermon and stars
The
coming around it.
Paramount advertised on TV.
Starting-
You see the stars come down from heaven and circle it. That's
Uh-huh.
that's Mount what?
That's the fallen angels
That's
because
Mount what? What Mount is that? Mount Hermon.
that's where the angels, fallen angels, came down.
Wow. Wow, Josh. Awesome.
Read.
Man. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell,
Uh-huh.
to the sides of the pit. Go ahead, Mary.
They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee,
Right.
saying to this,
Is this
is this the man that made the earth to remember
to tremble? Okay.
Right.
that did shake kingdoms?
So is this weak thing the one that caused the earth really all trouble? Now let's go to Ezekiel 28 verse
Ezekiel 28.
12.
28:12. Look at that. And further on, if you read there in Isaiah, it says that he made the earth a desolate wasteland. So that's going to happen in America and the world. It's going to be wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
Wiped out. 28 what, Josh?
Wow.
America too, Christian. America too.
12.
28:12. You want to start at 13? Okay, 12.
12.
Okay. Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus,
Uh-huh.
and say unto him, thus saith the Most High Power, thou sealest up the sun, full of wisdom, and perfect in beauty.
Mm.
Thou hast been in Eden.
Thou hast been in Eden.
Come on, the garden of the Most High.
So the spirit or the God leading this wicked king was in Eden. This is Satan that he was talking about. He was clothed with the sun. Read.
Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of Ahayah. Every precious stone was thy covering.
Mm-hmm.
The sardius, the topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold, the workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes.
Musical instruments.
Come on, was prepared in thee,
Mm.
in his body, in the day that thou wast created. So when he was created, he had music pipes to his body.
Thou art the anointed
Go ahead, John.
cherub that cometh.
So when you see the like pictures of the ark, cover the two cherubs covering the mercy seat, one of those cherubs was Lucifer, one of them was Michael.
Wow.
They covered the Most High. They
Wow.
were literally in the presence of the Most High.
And I have set thee so that was upon the way, the holy mountain of Ahayah. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire.
The angels read.
You can read, Mary. 15. 15. Go ahead.
Thou was perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created
He was perfect. See the word perfect?
until iniquity was found in
Ah.
thee.
By the multitude of thy merchandise, they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Look where violence comes from, the earth. Therefore, I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of Ahayah, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. And I want to say something there.
So he was
Wait a minute.
right.
I want to say something there, so I don't forget. You see how the archaeologists today, right? They're trying to find the Ark of the Covenant, and don't even know that angel fell. That's on there, and that's Satan. Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
So he was destroyed, or he was cast away from the angels. Read.
Thy heart was
Thanks.
lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom.
So all the wisdom of this earth is corrupted.
And the beauty of him was so bright that he thought he could be.
He was the bright. That's why Lucifer was the bright and morning star.
Wow.
He would be the first light you would see in the daytime.
I will cast thee
In the morning.
by reason of thy brightness. I will cast thee to the ground. I will lay thee before kings, that they may behold thee.
Wow. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries. Watch this, Christian church, by the multitude of thine iniquities, by the iniquity of thy traffic. Therefore will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee. And I will bring thee to ashes upon the earth in the sight of all men. So that's the day that we have forward to look, Tony. All right? That behold thee. All they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shalt thou be any more.
Again.
So because
hold on.
the Most High is going to cast Lucifer into the lake of fire.
Why are we reading this tonight? Because we're trying to give you a platform of what we're going to read. That the control of him all over the world is all about holidays in America, all that murder.
So all these holidays are reverence to Satan. Your Christmas, Easter, Martin Luther King Day, all these holidays that you celebrate are Satan worship in one way or the other.
My wife and I watched the news today. We were astonished of all the murder. This kid just killed his wife and his daughter and his son the day before a holiday. You keep track of your devil holidays and you watch all the crime that happens on your holidays.
Now we're going to read some information.
We're going to expose
Keep your Bibles
Day.
open because we're going to go to some precepts as well we're reading.
The truth about Columbus Day.
And also we're going to go into
why are we celebrating?
We're going to go into this as well and show you some key information about Columbus as well from this book. Read.
Supporters of the revolution changing Columbus Day in Seattle to Indigenous Peoples Day, September 2nd, 2014.
Get to start
today.
Today.
Today, while millions across America are celebrating Columbus Day, the city of Seattle is celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day. That's because last week the Seattle City Council unanimously passed a resolution to honor the contributions of cultures of Native Americans on the second day of October. While Seattle's decision may seem unusual, it's actually part of a growing trend. Many cities and states across the country have shifted away from celebrating Columbus Day. And that's because more and more Americans are learning the real history behind Christopher Columbus and his discovery.
Right.
First of all, Columbus didn't actually discover the Americas, despite what you may have been taught.
Repeat that.
Come on. First of all, Columbus didn't actually discover the Americas, despite what you may have been taught in elementary school. Thanks to the archaeological evidence, we know now that there were many other groups who traveled to the Americas long before Columbus did. For example, back in the 10th century, the Vikings had settlements in what are now Greenland and Newfoundland. And DNA evidence proves that Polynesians came to South America almost a century before Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Stop. Now let's get it from, let's go to 2nd Ezra 13:39.
Okay.
Because we're going to show you who actually came here first. Because that's a little ambiguous right there. That's Europeans were not the first ones here. I'm sorry, that's a lie. That's not only archaeologically incorrect, that's historically incorrect.
2nd Ezra where, Josh? Huh?
13. 2nd Ezra 13.
All right, 13 where?
Started 39, right?
Huh?
2nd Ezra 13:39.
39. Okay. You want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay. 2nd Ezra, take your time. Chapter 13, verse 39. You have it, everybody? Mary?
We all have it?
Wait, let's wait. And whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of
2nd Ezra 13.
yeah
2nd Ezra 13:39.
39. Away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hoshea, the king whom Shalmaneser,
Right. Wait thou.
the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. 41, Mary. Verse 41. 13:41. You got it? Oh. If it's too small, I'll read it, Mary. Go ahead.
But they took this counsel among themselves
Come on, louder.
that they would leave the multitude of the
Heathen.
and go forth into a further country
Go ahead. Where never, go ahead.
never mankind
Nobody ever was in this nation before the tribes, that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And that's why the Most High carried them away captive all over the world. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood, the ocean, till they were passed over. For though that country was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Assyria, which is called what?
So-called America.
Okay.
So the Most High, according to the Bible, the so-called Native Americans were the first people to travel here.
Where in the world, if you're in the European, right, Tony countries, there's no place where it takes a year and a half to go somewhere over there. No way. Because most tribes or most nations, whoever they were, could travel over land. They didn't have to go in the sea. They'd have to cross maybe a small Argentina, right? Argentina, but that's all. These people, the tribe of Israel, the Most High stood the ocean, held back the hurricanes, the storms, right? And they made it. And they made it here. Okay, Josh. What else? Where do you want to go?
Keep it open.
All right. Okay, where are we? The top. Oh, the DNA. So So Columbus' discovery of the Americas wasn't really discovery at all. But enough about the discovery. Let's talk about the man himself and what he did to indigenous people that he found when he arrived in the New World. When Columbus set sail in 1492, he was on the hunt for gold to bring back to Europe, and eventually landed on an island known as Hispaniola, which today, say Mary, what? Hispaniola, which today is the home of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Unfortunately, Columbus didn't discover much gold on Hispaniola, but he did find something as good as it, if not better, people.
Read.
And Columbus thought that the indigenous people that he discovered would make great slaves. When Columbus discovered the Taino, indigenous peoples of Hispaniola, he wrote back to the Spanish monarchs funding his voyage, saying that they are well built with good bodies and handsome features. Pedophile. They do not bear arms and do not know them. For I showed them a sword, and they took it by the edge and cut themselves out of ignorance. They have no iron. Their spears are made of cane. They would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. Here there are so many of these slaves, although they are living things, they are as good as gold. Over time, Columbus's real actions in the Americas have been replaced by a warm and fuzzy coloring book story of a bold and brave explorer who set out to discover a new world. Yeah, right. But in reality, as we have learned from writings of the Christopher Columbus' own men, the bold explorer raped, pillaged, enslaved, pillaged, enslaved, and slaughtered people just to get rich. Wow. One of Columbus's crewmen, Miguel Cunha, wrote about the scheme when Columbus arrived in Hispaniola for the second time, and thousands of Taínos, or what were referred to as Indians, came out to greet Columbus' ships. That's where they got that word, Josh. Indians. Wow. Canino wrote, when our caravels were to leave for Spain, we gathered 1,600 male and female persons of those Indians. For those who remained, we let it be known to the Spaniards in the vicinity that anyone who wanted to take some of them could do so, to the amount desired, which was done. Carino also wrote that he took his own sex slave, a beautiful young girl who, in his own words, resisted with all her strength, leaving him no choice but to thrash her mercifully and rape her. Columbus eventually started up a global child sex slave trade, shipping off Indians to all corners of the world. Wow. So he was the first one to start the sex slave ships. Wow. He even bragged about it to a friend in a letter written in 1500, saying that 100 castellanos, a Spanish coin, are as easily obtained for a woman as for a farm, and it is very general, and there are plenty of dealers who go about looking for girls. Those from 9 to 10 years old are now in demand. You see what this man was? This guy was a pedophile. This guy was a raper.
Read.
Under Columbus's rule, life for the Taino people became so bad that they resorted to mass suicide. Wow. 25 years after Columbus had arrived in Hispaniola, the Spanish missionary Pedro Cordoba wrote that as a result of the suffering and hard labor they endured, the Indians choose to have chosen suicide. Occasionally, 100 have committed mass suicide. The women, exhausted by labor, have shunned conception and childbirth. Many, when pregnant, have taken something to abort and have aborted. Others, after delivery, have killed their children with their own hands so as not to leave them in such oppressive slavery.
Wow.
Wow, man. Eventually, Columbus resorted to wiping out the Taino altogether. Prior to Columbus' arrival in the New World,
Now listen to this.
scholars place the population of Haiti, Hispaniola at about 1.5 to 3 million people.
Now listen to this.
Wow.
So before Columbus came,
Wow.
there were 1.5 to 3 million Israelites living in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Read.
Wow. By 1496, it was
Only 4 years. Now
It-
that's 4 years.
okay.
Read.
it was down to 1.1 million.
So he killed over 500,000.
According to the census done by the Bartholomew Columbus, Columbus' brother, by 1516, the indigenous population was at 12,000.
So from
Wow. 100 years, not even a little less
what
than
was that date?
1496 to 1516.
Was that 20?
About 80 years, right, Tony?
No, wait. Uh,
No, about
40.
60 years, 50 years, something like that. No, less, like 30 years?
yeah.
30 years.
So in 30 years, it went from 1 million to 12,000. That's almost what, 90%?
Probably
95?
I hope you're getting this tonight.
about 93.
I hope you're listening.
So not even 50 years after Europeans came here, over just in Haiti, 12 million. It went from 3 million to 12,000, almost 95, over probably 95%
Wow.
genocided.
And by 1542,
Not even 100 years,
Few-
about
not
50, 45 years
That's
later
right.
after.
fewer than 200 natives were alive on Hispaniola.
So it kept decreasing.
By 1555, every single native was dead.
Mm.
Every last one. Wow. If Columbus was robbing, raping, and pilfering Hispaniola today, we would probably be bombing him from the air. Wow. It's time to put the shameful history of Columbus and his enslavement and murder of Native Americans behind us and start celebrating the indigenous people who called the Americas home long before Columbus ever set sail.
Mhm.
Okay. Wow. That is a crying. Wow, man. And you better believe that man's in hell. I don't care what you say, Catholic, Christian, that man never made it. Oh, God forgave everything.
Now we're going to read some. Go to Psalm 50, verse 16.
Psalms 50:16. God doesn't care if you destroy his heritage. He forgave it. Nothing's going to happen to America. Don't hold your breath, because it's coming. I shared with a young Afro-American girl today in Home Depot, and she really received our message, or what I told her about who she is. You know what she told me? Listen to what she told me, Tony. We're not just losing our identity. We've been losing everything else about us. I said, that's right. That's right. And your own pastors, if they tell you, if the government or if it leaks out, if they tell you enough about who you really are, they'll close their church down. They'll close that church down. Okay, where are we going, Josh? Where's the
56.
Psalms? Psalms what,
50.
Josh?
50,
Huh?
15, 16,
50,
50, 16.
50, 16. Okay. Wow. 50, 16. Psalms 50, 16. But unto the wicked the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes?
Mhm.
or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth?
So what are these Christian churches doing, and these churches doing, trying to teach you the truth, when their organization in this country was not built off of peace and civility? It was built off of genocide and suppression of God's people.
And they want you to remember 9/11. All those people died. Seeing thou hatest instruction and castest my words behind thee, when thou get married.
When thou sawest a thief, then thou
consentedest with him.
consentest
Go along with him.
with him, and have been partaker with
Come on. Adulterers.
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 Thou givest thy mouth to evil, and thy tongue frameth deceit.
He was a discoverer.
Wow.
Thou
Look at that.
sittest and speakest against thy brother. Thou
Slanderous.
slanderest thy own mother.
Own mother's son.
Now, let's go into.
Good, honey.
Keep the Bible open.
Okay.
Actually, turn to Isaiah 1:10, and we're gonna.
Isaiah 1:10. Wow, we haven't read this in a while, man. Isaiah 1:10.
Drop it. Hold on.
Isaiah 1:10.
Hold that.
Isaiah 1:10.
No, we're gonna
What?
hold. No.
Put my place there.
Yeah.
Isaiah 1:10. Okay, I'm gonna hold it. I hold that place there, guys. Okay. All right, what do you want to read? Let me put the I stuff in. I got it today. I got it 3 days ago already. Well, what are you reading, Josh? Introduction. The voyages of Columbus mark a starting point of world capitalism and the beginning of European colonial domination of the world. That is what the ruling powers want everyone to celebrate. Wow. But it hasn't gone down like that. The oppressed people have a different view. Throughout the past year, you can read to me, there have been debates and confrontations whenever the ruling powers have tried to celebrate Columbus and their system. In Spain, the United States, and throughout the Western Hemisphere. In the Dominican Republic, recently, the media reported that soldiers shot into a crowd of anti-Columbus demonstrators and killed at least 2 people. In Peru, the growing Moorish people's war reveals an important truth. The world system that emerged since Columbus is under assault. Its days are numbered. Wow.
Read.
The proletariat, right? And oppressed peoples have nothing to celebrate on October 12th. The Columbus anniversary is a celebration of mass murder, slavery, and conquest. More, it exalts the continued oppression of billions of people today. Columbus is something only oppressors or fools could celebrate. Did you hear that? So you're going to celebrate tomorrow. You're going to go out there like a jerk. It's Columbus Day. Happy Columbus Day. This article was first published in the Revolutionary Worker a year ago. It sketches the true history of the so-called first encounter. Can you read? Okay. It is said that the Columbus voyage was the first encounter between the New World and the Old World. This is contrary to all known information. Travelers from the great African empire of Mali in the 1300s reported that the king of Mali told them of 2 expeditions with hundreds of boats sent from Africa west into the great ocean. Some evidence suggests that these may have been periods of ancient trade from to Brazil. There is physical evidence of a settlement in dating back to the year 1000, I'm sorry. And by the time of Columbus himself, it has been routine for English fishermen to travel across the Atlantic to fish the outer banks, where they often caught sight of the mainland to the west. Altogether, the historical record suggests as many as 20 contacts, and sightings before Columbus. Why then is the Columbus voyage considered first? Because for the modern ruling classes, the important point is not the actual contact between peoples. It is the world historic growth of capitalism in Europe, made possible by the plunder of Americas. And that did not start before Columbus.
Read.
The above quotes are selected to illustrate the fact that Christopher Columbus discovered absolutely nothing, that he was an adventurer, an opportunist, and a willful murderer and a liar, and that what he left in motion was the basis of Western capitalism and the exploitation of both Africans and indigenous Americans who had committed no crimes against European people and did not know of European intention to conquer and enslave them. Wow. Both the Africans and the indigenous Americans befriended the Europeans at first, only to be rewarded by enslavement. They did not protect themselves from the Europeans because they did not believe there was no need to. The literature exposing Christopher Columbus and the protracted crimes he set in motion in massive and is still growing. Today, former Columbus cheerleaders have discarded the word discovery and are now using the word encounter. They too are aware of the fact that Christopher Columbus discovered absolutely nothing. This is good, Josh. He was a man of achievement, tragic and dubious, though the achievement may be. A capsule summary of Mike Eli's article is as follows. The U.S. imperialists love Columbus. They have named cities, countries, towns, rivers, colleges, parks, streets, and even their capital after him. And now they are organized a global celebration. Yet to the people, the facts are plain. Columbus was a thief, an invader, an organizer of rape of Indian women, a slave trader, a reactionary religious fanatic, and the personal director of a campaign for mass murder of defenseless people. Wow. Borrigidius hides these truths as they insist on celebrating him. They say, why can't we celebrate him for his seamanship and his daring? Columbus was utterly lost when he arrived on the beaches of the Bahamas until he died. He swore that he had landed in the eastern shore of Asia, which in reality is half a world away. On his second voyage, he had his crew sign papers that declared that if they told anyone the island of Cuba was not the mainland of China, he would have their tongues cut out. Any reading of this diaries reveals that he was filled not with a lofty courage or adventurous curiosity, but only the most extreme craving to plunder and enslave unarmed people. They say, why can't we judge Columbus by the standards of his time, not of ours? This is a revealing argument. We can ask whose standards of 1492 is the measuring rod. The Taino people, the African people, the peasant rebels of Spain, or the conquistadors themselves. Read. The modern imperialists even adopt a shy, multicultural covers saying, why can't we celebrate all the cultures that come together to make American history today? Can't we use this celebration to heal the wounds from the past? What? And the answer is that this view refuses to distinguish between oppressor and oppressed. The Spanish conquistador and subjugated Indian are not just two heritages to be celebrated. Why should such wounds be healed when this celebration glorifies capitalism oppression that continues? When the legacy of that past is stamped on every event and social retaliation. The controversy around Christopher Columbus, his alleged discovery of what his encounter with the indigenous Americans set in motion, has prompted Pope John Paul III to bring some peace and modernization to the Salvadorians. In a speech in Santo Domingo, he has asked the Indians and the Africans to forgive their captors and their enslavers. The following excerpt is from Daily Challenge. Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, Pope John Paul Tuesday pleaded with all Native Indians of the Americas and African Americans to forgive the white man for 500 years of injustices. Yeah, right. And offenses. The people also said there was no doubt European colonizers had inflicted innumerable suffering on Native Indians because they were not able to see them as children of the same God. In the name of Yashayah, and as a pastor of the church, I ask you to forgive those who have offended you. The Pope said in a message to the hemisphere's indigenous peoples. Wow. Mentioned Jesus. Forgive all those who during these 500 years have been the cause of pain and suffering for your ancestors and for yourselves. The Pope said in a 9-page message to Indians. His message came out day after thousands of Indians throughout the hemisphere marked the 500th anniversary of Christopher Columbus' arrival in America with bitter protests against the European invaders. Good. All right. Hold on. That's awesome. Did you hear that? Don't you understand who Indians are? Don't you understand who the Afro Americans are? They're the Most High's heritage. He's not going to forgive that. And we're not going to forgive it. That's why we tell everybody who they are. Because that day is coming, my friend. That day is coming. Where's his sword? Yashayah. It's bath and blood. And when he comes back, he's going to have blood on his vesture. He's not coming back like a lot of Christian churches are telling you. He's a loving God. He's coming back to kiss us and hug us. Yeah, right. Don't hold your breath. You give me a scripture. Give me one scripture. Yeah, call us. We're on the air. Call us. Yeah, give me one scripture where Christ said he was a Christian. Give me one scripture where it says in the Bible that he's coming back for a Christian church. It ain't there.
Okay.
Go ahead, Josh.
I got some stuff.
Oh, you just said, go ahead, Josh.
We're breaking down Columbus Day, by the way.
So if you just tuned in, get a seatbelt on.
To understand the African slave trade, we must understand slavery and it as an institution. An institution almost as old as human society. Every people somewhere or way have been slaves. In fact, Europeans enslaved other Europeans for much as longer period than enslaved Africans. Slavery was a permanent factor of the ancient world in Egypt, Kush, and Rome. The African slave period is best known to us because it is the best documented. However, these documents are often confusing because they were created by people who are trying to justify the slave trade. Most people, especially Europeans, who created the most of these documents on the slave trade, write about the subject with the intent to make the victim of slavery feel guilty and to vindicate the perpetrator of the slave trade. So they make you feel like it was a good thing that they came here and enslaved people.
Huh.
They gave them religion.
Yeah.
We came over here to evangelize people.
What they did was enslaved America with a false religion.
There is probably more dishonesty related to the interpretation of the subject that many other subject humans to man. The African slave trade, like African history, is often about, but rarely understood. This understanding probably grows out of the fact that merely always starts to study of African slave trade in the wrong place. The germ, the motive, the rationale of the African slave trade started in the minds of the Europeans.
Come on.
In the 15th and 16th century. The slave trade could not have started at all had been, if at all had there been no market for it. The slave trade started when the Europeans began to expand.
Want to read some?
Yeah.
Where's Josh up there? Out into the broader world. The market was created by Europeans for European reasons. The story of the African slave trade is essentially the story of the consequences of the second rise of Europe. In the years between the passing of the Roman Empire in the 8th century and the partial unification of Europe through the framework of the Catholic Church in the 15th century, Europeans were engaged mainly in internal matters. With the openings of the New World and the explosion of the Arabs and the Moors from Spain during the latter part of the 15th century, the Europeans started to expand beyond their homeland into the border world. They were searching for new markets, new materials, new manpower, and new land to exploit.
Mm-hmm.
The African slave trade was created to accommodate this expansion. The basis for the European Industrial Revolution has already been established. They had already created embroidery technology, including the gun. In the years that followed, they also used other advantages, mainly a large fleet of ships and rebel soldiers and sailors with no sentimental attachment to non-European people, to take over most of the world. In so doing, they destroyed a large number of nations and civilizations that were older than any in Europe. Wow. The main problem with the African in dealing with the European during this early period was the African's tragic, naive. He had never dealt extensively with this kind of people. He came out of a society where nature was kind. Nature furnished him enough food, enough land, enough of the basic things he needed to live a pretty good life. These old African societies were governed by honor and obligation. Land could neither be bought or sold. There were no fights over the ownership of land. The land belonged to everyone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The European, coming from a society where nature was rather stingy and where he had to compete with his brother for his breakfast, his land, and his woman, had acquired a competitive nature that the African could not deal with. In order to justify the destruction of these African societies, a monster that still haunts our lives was created. This monster was racism. The slave trade and the colonial system that followed are the parents of this catastrophe.
Mm-hmm.
The Europeans, mainly the Portuguese, who came to the west coast of Africa in the 15th century, were not at first looking for slaves. The search for gold and other treasures lured to Africa. They did not have to fight their way into the continent. They came as guests and were treated as guests. Then they grew strong, decided to be conquerors, and turned on their host. Another myth we have to dispel is that the Europeans came to Africa to spread civilization. Actually, most of the great civilizations in Africa declined after the coming of the Europeans. For years, the Europeans have been hearing rumors about African cities of gold and beautiful women. There were also legends circulated in Europe about a great emperor in Ethiopia called Prester John. But when the Portuguese arrived in Africa, Prester John had been dead for 300 years. And they looked for him on one side of Africa, and he had been on the other.
Wow.
But no, you want me to read?
No, hold on.
Okay. Yeah, we did. That's good, Josh. Come on, get some rest.
Hold on.
What's we can watch some of the giant game, right?
We're gonna finish.
Oh, why don't set it that one. What? Where are we going?
Start right here.
And when we finish,
Page just one.
okay. When we begin to rethink our history, we understand why history books were wrong. We were all miseducated. Columbus did not discover America. The historical facts: in December 1492, Columbus was totally lost, wandering around the Caribbean islands thinking he was in Asia. When he was discovered by the native Arawak Americans who lived in these islands.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was the Arawaks' ancestors who 50,000 years before Columbus discovered the Americas when they walked across.
Correction, the world's not 50,000 years old. That's a lie.
That's right.
The world is only 12,000 years old. The
That's
Arawak, so-called, they came over here with only 700 years, the year 700
That's
AD,
right.
BC.
That's right. And the land bridging the Bering Strait.
That's a lie. They came over here
Come on, Josh.
after the captivity of the northern kingdom of Israel. The Bering Strait theory is a lie.
That's
Read.
right. Columbus didn't discover anything. He was so confused and lost. He thought he was in India and called the Arawaks Indians. Christopher Columbus was considered a saint by the European who hailed his great so-called discovery. We need to rethink our history. Columbus was no saint, and the Arawak were not civilized savages. Like the African who came to America before and after Columbus, these were gentle people with a rich culture who worshiped the one creator. When we begin to rethink our history, we begin to put into historical perspective the true role of Europeans in our 500-year history. The prosperity, the wealth, and the good European lifestyles we enjoy today in America began in 1492 and from its infant beginnings. This prosperity grew out of slavery, you see. Slavery did not begin with the importation of African people to America. Slavery in America began with Columbus.
With who?
With Columbus.
Slavery did not begin
Come on.
in 1619.
That's right.
The transatlantic slave trade started with Columbus. That's a fact. Read.
That's right. Slavery in America began with Columbus. The first slaves were not Africans, but Native Americans. Columbus wrote,
Israelites.
that's right.
They're not Native. They're not Native Americans.
Come on,
they're Hebrew Israelites.
That's right.
Read.
Columbus wrote in his journals about
And Columbus, if you study, do the extra research, Columbus used 2nd Ezra 13 to find these Israelites. So he knew they used the Bible. They had the Bible.
They had the Apocrypha, that's right.
So they used the scriptures to come here and find Israelites and mass genocide them.
Wow. Wow.
Keep reading.
God forgave it. The first slaves were not Africans, but Native Americans. Columbus wrote in his journals about the inhabitants of Haiti, present-day Haiti. Haiti. All the inhabitants could be taken away to Castile, Spain, to make slaves on the island with 50 men. We could segregate them all and make them do whatever we want. In truth, that is exactly what he did. Columbus enslaved the gentle Arawak Haitians, forced them to give up their gold and their land. After all, he had discovered these riches. They were his for the taking. What is also
First
true,
of all, hold up. Hold that.
Sure.
You know what Haiti comes from? The Greek word Hades, or hell.
Wow.
So they call the country hell.
Wow.
The Europeans, Haiti.
Wow.
So they rename everything. Read.
Forced them to give up, discovered these riches, they were his for the taking. What is also true is Columbus took hundreds of Arawak slaves to Spain, where they were sold or died. They didn't freely go with Columbus to meet the king, as many history books led us to believe. In his quest for gold, Columbus had the hands cut off of any Arawak who did not bring in his or her quota of gold.
So they mutilated
their hands
people.
off.
Read.
In a short 40 years, the entire race of people in Haiti, 500,000 Native Americans, were wiped off the face of the earth by Columbus and the Spaniards that followed him. No, Columbus was no saint. We need to rethink.
It gets worse. Keep reading.
Now, European, especially, non-European people, especially Africans, and the indigenous Americans, indigenous Americans in the Caribbean islands, referred to as Indians, initially attributed to the Europeans a humanity and a spirituality they did not have. You see, we're jealous, and still do not have in their relationship with most of the non-European people of the world. This was a weakness in dealing with the aggressive Europeans, and to some extent, it still is. It still is. Christopher Columbus was the forerunner of the European aggressor and land grabber of today. They have justified this action in this regard in the name of God, using the assumption that people were being brought under the influence of civilization. This indeed was a contradiction, because the act committed against these people was uncivil. When a people assume that their God approves of their criminal action against another people, they have made God ungodly. In many ways, the Europeans' misuse of religion has destroyed the spirituality that was initially the basis of all religion. The Carib and the Arawak Indians, the Carib, were cautious about Christopher Columbus and his crew, and at first treated them as strange and new guests in their homes. They did not know that soon after arrival, the guests would turn on the host and make them slaves. The destruction of the Caribs and Arawaks in the Caribbean islands through disease, rape of their women, and sometimes out murder, destroyed the labor supply on these islands and made it a necessity for the Spaniards and other Europeans to create a rational for the enslavement of the Africans. Rationale. Thanks, bud. In this book, The Disruption of the Indies, Father de las Casas estimates that from 12 to 25 million indigenous.
Wait, 12 to what?
Huh?
How many million?
Indigenous. 12 to 25 million.
12 to 25 million
indigenous Americans were killed on the islands in the Caribbean. The school books that indicate that Christopher Columbus was on a civilizing mission as a decisive to students and teachers who should be in rebellion against them. Christopher Columbus and his crew could have formed a successful partnership with the Indians that would have been to the benefit of both of them. While Christopher Columbus still prevails as a major hero to the Western world, sometime in the not too distant future, if African and Indian scholars who are descendants of those who were murdered start writing books about the opening up of the New World and start using new and old documents, especially the work of Bartolomeo de las Casas, Christopher Columbus will engage as one of the great villains of human history, which indeed he was.
So that's good.
Yeah, that's wow, man. Wow.
Now, before we read,
And I used to celebrate that day.
read Isaiah.
Where?
110.
Huh?
10, I think.
110?
11.
Oh.
Start with 11.
111 or 110? Or 11, chapter 11?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
111.
Oh, 111, okay. You ready? To what purpose is the multitude of your sacrifice unto me? Say it the Most High.
When you come to worship on these pagan holidays, read.
I am full of burnt offering.
I'm tired of your
Of rams.
I'm tired of your worship on these days.
Come on. And to the fat of fed beast, and I delay not in the blood of bullocks, or of lambs, or of goats. When you come to appear before me, who hath required this at your hand, to tread my courts?
So who's told you to worship on Columbus Day?
Come
Man
on.
did, read.
That's right.
Because he did not.
Wow. Bring no more vain oblations. Incense is an abomination unto me. The new moons and Sabbaths, the calling of assemblies.
All the worldly holidays that you celebrate,
Come on. I cannot away with. I can't take it.
I
To the means.
cannot away with.
It is iniquity.
It is what?
Sin.
It is what?
Sin.
It is iniquity.
Even the solemn meeting. Your new moons.
Your new moons, your
blood
worldly,
moons. That's right.
your worldly feast days,
Come on, Josh. And your appointed feast.
your Christmas,
Come on.
Thanksgiving.
My
We're
soul.
gonna bring.
Yeah, we're gonna bring
messages.
it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got your holidays.
Your new moons and your appointed feasts, my soul hated.
Uh-huh.
They are a trouble unto me. I am weary to bear them. And when ye spread forth your hands, oh Jesus, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when you make many prayers, I will not hear.
Uh-huh.
Your hands are full of blood.
So when you go because of the murder, your hands are guilty of the same.
When you celebrate these holidays, your hands are full of blood.
Wow. Go to Psalms 55:19. Then we're going to Amos. And we're going to close with Amos.
Psalms what? 55?
55:19.
Psalms 55:19.
Now, we just read the history. What does the Bible have to say about Columbus?
Ahayah, again, Mary. Psalms 55:19.
Psalms 55, verse 19.
I got almost a stiff neck, cold in my neck.
He was a mass murderer,
He sure was.
genocider.
Okay. High power.
Yeah.
So hear
Uh-huh.
and afflict.
Oh, he's going to hear them.
He's
No,
going
he's going to forgive them.
No.
He's going to afflict them.
Come
So he's heard the suffering that these people have put on his people,
Watch
and
this,
he's going to
Mary.
afflict them.
Look at that. Even he that abideth of old.
Even the
Even a
most
long time ago, he hasn't forgotten it. Go ahead. Yeah,
Selah.
Mary.
Because,
Think Selah means meditate and think on this.
Yeah.
because they have no change.
They have no conscience.
Therefore, they fear.
That's right.
So Columbus and these people have no conscience. They
So as you're hearing this message tonight, and you keep celebrating holidays,
And the
you have no fear of the Most High.
and the European elitists that push these holidays have no conscience and they hate God. Read.
Ahayah, okay, right. 20, right?
20, Dad.
He has put forth his
He has
hands.
done what?
He has put forth his hands against such.
No, he's loved them.
He has put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him.
See, as we read,
Well, we just read, right?
the Arawaks and
They would
all
come
the
in
Israelites
And they
were
would put that
peaceful.
stupid cross in the sand.
They didn't want war.
Mhm.
They knew nothing about war.
And then they
But
got
those
friends with them and they destroyed them.
bloodthirsty Europeans,
I'm sorry, Josh.
peace wasn't good enough for them. They had to kill.
Right. You're right. That's exactly right. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
Peace.
Come on,
Safety,
we love you.
love.
Yeah. But what, Mary?
Peace with them.
But war? Wait, finish.
What?
But their words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Finish it. But
War was in his heart.
what was in his heart?
War.
But
His
what?
heart means his mind.
His mind
War
was
was in his mind.
when Columbus and them came over here, their mind was filled with conquest,
Come on.
butchery, and murder.
But his words were softer than oil,
Oh, peace and
yet they were drawn swords.
uh-huh.
Okay, let's see.
Amos 5:20.
All right, one more, Amos.
Break it down.
Break it.
Have we learned anything tonight?
Learned a lot.
Have
Yeah,
the Most High good?
it sure is. If you pay attention to what his word is saying, enough people.
Joe.
Amos
Amos right after Joel, right?
5:20, right?
Hold on.
5:20. That's Amos 5 and verse 20.
I'll read it, Mary. You want to read it, honey? Amos 5:20. Right after Joel, honey. Right after Joel. Amos. Joel, Amos.
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 Right where, after the book of Daniel, about 3 books over.
Amos 5 verse 20.
Shall not the day of the Lord, of the Most High, be darkness?
Wait, stop. Now, days aren't always dark. The darkness that the Most High is talking about here is spiritual deadness.
Come on.
No truth, no mercy, no true judgment, no true love,
You got it, Mary?
no mercy. You got it, Mom?
And not light?
So there's no light is the law, right?
Come on. That's
So there's
right.
no true preaching of the truth in America.
That's right. Even very dark
Even very absolute blackness.
and no brightness in it.
And what?
No brightness in it.
Read.
21, Mary. I hate.
I hate.
Again, Mary.
I love.
I hate.
I what?
I hate.
I thought God is all love.
I hate.
I what?
I hate.
Read.
I despise.
Those are strong words.
Come on.
I thought he was all love.
I love your feast days.
I despise. Read.
Despise your feast days.
Uh-huh.
Now, your feast, the worldly feast days that the elite have you worshiping, God hates. Read.
And I will not smell
I will not smell in your services. Read.
solemn assembly.
Read.
Though ye offer me burnt offering
Your worship and praise.
Come on.
and your meat offering,
Come on.
I will not accept them.
I will accept them.
I will not accept them.
Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beast.
Read.
Take thou
That's
away.
your food
Come
when
on.
you sit down
Pork,
to eat your
shellfish.
meals.
Mhm.
God doesn't hear your prayers.
That's right. Take thou away from me the noise of thy songs,
Mm.
for I will not hear the melody of thy vows.
Read.
But again, Mary.
Judgment run down as water,
Let the true judgment, which is the laws of the Most High in Christ, read.
and righteousness as a mighty stream.
Have you offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40
Stop.
years?
Last scripture,
Come on.
Mark 7:24. 24.
All right, hold on. Where? I got this, Mary. 24, Josh? There's no 24 in Mark.
7.
7:24. All right, 7:24. Okay, let's read it. All right, this is going to close with this. Mark 7:24. Let's all get it. Say, so be it, right? I hope you've been blessed tonight, because I sure am. This is awesome what we read. You know, and we had matched everything up that we read about Columbus in the Word, through the Word, too. Ready, Josh? All right.
Uh-huh. Read.
Wait. Mark 7:24. And from thence he arose and went into the borders of
Hold
Tyre
on.
and Sidon.
Hold on. Hold on, everybody. Need to. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. John 7, I meant. Sorry. John 7.
All right, John 7.
24.
John 7:24. Okay, I'll read it, Mary. John 7:24. You ready? You sure? John 7:24. Judge not according to the appearance.
So stop. When we look at things, we're not supposed to judge or based on our feelings or what we think. Or we're not supposed to look at things just because everyone else is doing it and judge it to be right. Judge not according to read.
Appearance.
Don't judge or do something just because it seems.
Doesn't mean how you're dressed. He's not saying that about clothes. But judge righteous judgment.
But judge righteous judgment. In other words, when you look at something, judge it righteously.
That's
judge
right.
all the facts about something before
Bring
you.
the precepts.
Right.
Don't just try to listen. Sit on the pastors that give you 3 words and they preach on that.
Right.
Well, I was totally blessed with this. It's good, Josh.
So we
Now
understand
we're bringing a message on Halloween soon.
Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Now remember, keep track of the time frame, because it's getting lighter every morning earlier and it's getting darker every night later. So sooner, right? I'm sorry. So Friday night, as soon as it gets dark, we're on live. Saturday night, we're on an hour and a half before it gets dark. So just watch the time element. That's all.
So we say peace and shalom.
Shalom.